26-year-old guy, fresh off his rookie contract, that still has plenty of room to both grow and continue to play at a high level for at least 2, 3, 4 years. So, um, this is where the Eagles made their hay on the good free agent signings. If you think about Brandon Brooks, off his rookie deal, young guy with some upside. Malcolm Jenkins.
We've been doing a whole bunch of counting up, counting down. We're counting down to the draft. We're counting down to the first Sunday of the year. We're counting up day 2 of year 2 of Mac and Mac here on Birds 365. However, the odometer says we're good to be talking Eagles with you for the next 2 hours. Johnny Mac got a chance to meet Kyzir White yesterday. He did what every Philadelphia athlete has to do when he first comes to town: suck up to Philadelphia. It is the biggest piece of advice I could give to any new player coming to town. When in doubt, suck up to Philadelphia. It will start your career off on the right foot, and Kyzir White did a pretty damn good job of it yesterday.
Yeah, he did. He knows. He's from an hour up the road, essentially, in McCungy, just outside of Allentown. So he knows. He was an Eagles fan growing up. He used to go to training camp at Lehigh. So he knows the drill. He's going to be smart when it comes to that aspect. And you're right. I mean, it's a Philly guy, Jody. He's a Philly guy now. We'll see. I mean, is he a Philly guy on the field? Probably not, because, it's an undersized linebacker. It's a new era of football, and everybody still wants to go back to the Buddy Ryan, Jim Johnson days where people are knocking your socks off and the Seth Joyners of the world are out there. It's not like that in the NFL. So this is a modern linebacker. I'm not sure if that's a fit for Philadelphia, but he understands the mentality. He understands the sentiment of the fan base because he grew up in it. And he was at the Snow Bowl. He wanted to always be an Eagle. So here it is, and it works out. And, the Whites got a pretty impressive path to West Virginia and then the NFL. Third of the White brothers to make it to the NFL. And Kevin's probably the most famed. He was a top 10 overall pick, never lived up to the billing.
His draft day status was the highlight of his NFL career, as a matter of fact.
He's still in the NFL, but number 7 overall pick overall for the Chicago Bears. So, 3 White brothers go from Emmaus High School to Lackawanna Junior College, then to West Virginia, then the NFL.
More power to them. And when the announcement came down that they had signed him, I remember him playing. I remember playing last year against Eagles, making some plays. As a matter of fact, I remember when he was drafted. I always liked the kid. Thought he was a player. Kudos to the Chargers because they took him from being a safety and made him into a linebacker. Kudos to the young man as well because he put on about 20 pounds of muscle over the course of the next couple of years before he hit free agency. Yes, I stood on top of the table and said that Hassan was the number 1 guy that the Eagles had to make a play for during this offseason, and they did, and they got him. But this is easily my second favorite signing for them this offseason. And yes, even if he's not a Buddy Ryan type linebacker, they are going to play football in 2022, and the game has changed. And I think he's going to be a perfect fit for what Jonathan Gannon wants to run.
Oh, I agree. Makes a lot of sense. They've been trying to do this for years with Nate Gary first, who was a safety at Nebraska. They tried to turn him into a linebacker. And other than Ken Flajole raving about his instincts, he never took to position, certainly in run support. Jacoby Stevens, they tried to do it last year from LSU, was a safety. And they tried to move him to linebacker, and he's still here, and that's still a work in progress. And who knows, that might work out in the end. But they've had this idea for a while to get this type of player, and now they have one that's ready-made. You already know can do it to a certain level. at least. And, let's be honest, pass coverage is more important. I don't know how many times I've said this spring, nobody cares about the running game. Nobody cares about it offensively at this time of year. Nobody cares about it defensively, even less. Now they'll care about it come September, even more in December. And that's where, the rubber hits the road, so to speak, Jody, and you evaluate the player. But he's already done it. So, he can do it to a capable NFL level. And hopefully he keeps getting better and better because he's that 26-year-old guy, fresh off his rookie contract, that still has plenty of room to both grow and continue to play at a high level for at least 2, 3, 4 years. So, this is where the Eagles made their hay on the good free agent signings. If you think about Brandon Brooks, off his rookie deal, young guy with some upside. Malcolm Jenkins, off his rookie deal at the time, young guy with some upside. Rodney McLeod, off his rookie deal. This is where you have a chance to bring in players that can help you for an extended period.
Two things. Just give me your eyeball read on them, because the numbers are what the numbers are when it comes to size and height and weight, and those guys that you mentioned, Nate Garys of the world, and their draft pick out of LSU last year. He just looks a little bigger than me. I know he played safety, but yesterday, and again, it's on Zoom. Did you go over there yesterday? Did you just do the Zoom thing? You went. Okay, so you got a real good look at him. He looks more like a linebacker. He seems to me, just with the naked eye, to be built more like a linebacker. Now, sometimes looks can be deceiving, but did you get that feeling yesterday?
No, I mean, he's not as big as Nate, I'll tell you that. Nate really pumped up, and he ended up being 230, low 230s. Kyzir's probably about 218. Play somewhere. You hope he plays somewhere at 220. No, he's not big. I mean, he's 6'1". He's a modern linebacker. He's not TJ Edwards. TJ's a big guy. 242 pounds. But that's what they want. That's what they're looking for. And he can cover. And he can do it naturally. And he talked about his brothers, who are both 4'3", 4'4" guys as receivers. And that's where he sort of gained his confidence. He's like, I had to deal with my brothers growing up, covering them. He's not scared of even the George Kittles and the Travis Kelce's of the world, because they can't run like his brothers. So he's got this confidence about him when it comes to his coverage ability. And, that's his first job. That's his first job. And then you hope he's capable in run support. That's sort of what everybody's looking for. Nobody expects Dick Butkus, when they make these kinds of moves with, safeties. I like to call them king-size safeties, and you turn them into linebackers. You're not expecting Dick Butkus. You just want capable, sort of like Malcolm Jenkins. Like, Malcolm could play linebacker, and he was capable. He's not going to be shedding blocks and, doing those types of things, but he didn't, he's not going to embarrass you. That's what they're looking at in the run support part of it for Kyzir.
I think White's going to be a big contributor in both ways this upcoming season, and that's why it makes it one of my favorite signings by the Eagles during this offseason. And you're right, he's not as big as TJ Edwards. But I want to draw an Edwards comparison because he got off to such a good start. He replaced Singleton as the main middle linebacker for the Eagles last year and was putting up numbers week in and week out. And yes, I suggested here on Bird 365. Listen, this is going down Howie Roseman's road. These are the type of players that he likes to get extensions done with. Guys who have established themselves as the Eagles. They aren't out in the market yet for free agency. Eagles get a little proactive and get them under contract for future seasons. And within 2 weeks, Eagles had announced they signed a contract extension with Edwards. So I kind of saw that one coming. So I'll ask you the same question here. One of the things that White said yesterday was, I'd like to finish my career as a Philadelphia Eagle. Sounded like he may have had other offers that were certainly the equivalent and maybe even slightly more, but he wanted to come home. He wanted to be a Philadelphia Eagle. He grew up here, went to the Snowball game, was an Eagle fan. Is this a guy who, a handful of games, maybe even a half a season in, the Eagles will look to do a contract extension with?
It's possible if he plays really well. They've done that in the past. Tim Jernigan would be an example. Those 1-year guys, if they really start playing well, yeah, they might get ahead of the game. That's what, as you mentioned, Howie likes to do, and it's generally a good idea. And what we've been talking about for a couple of weeks, there's kind of two camps, and he does a good job with the valuation, and then the evaluation of the player. Well, sometimes that hits and sometimes that misses. And in the case of Tim Jernigan, he was playing great, and then he just got hurt. And that's the risk you run. But I mean, that's NFL. I mean, that's anybody can get hurt. I mean, Tim got hurt in the gym. He didn't get hurt on the field. So it's you can't say, oh, I hope you can't, do your business that way. You just have to say, okay, this guy's playing well. Let's get him done. Let's get him a little bit cheaper than he's going to be if he hits the market. The kind of luxury you have with Kyzir White is the position he plays, and the NFL doesn't value it right now. And he's coming off a good year. He's coming off a darn good year. 144 tackles, made a bunch of plays, showed he could do exactly what I said. He's good in coverage. He's capable in run support. And his contract is what his contract is. I mean, and he kind of steered away from, did you have other offers? I'm sure he did. How close were you to going back to the Chargers, which I don't think he was close to that. But he steered away from that kind of stuff because he's more in the Steve Nelson camp, where he's like, what do I have to do to get these people to pay me like a starter in the NFL? And I don't know if he can do it. So they have some kind of luxury because he's always going to have that stigma over his head. Well, he's not a real linebacker, and we don't pay linebackers anyway. So I think the Eagles are in a good situation. If he plays well, I'm not saying they're not going to extend him. If he plays well, they might give him 2 years at a really nice number just to, put it behind them. But I don't think they have to worry about it that much. That's one of the luxuries of a player like that. Whereas
Right.
we see the wide receiver market again with Stephon Diggs this morning before we get on the air, exploding. Everybody's getting 65, 70 million guaranteed. And, you start to wonder, do you want to get into this business at the wide receiver business at that price? I don't know. I understand the hesitancy. I will say that.
Right, but or do you want to win Super Bowls? That's what the question comes down to, because the top teams seem to have the top paid wide receivers, and you can talk all you want about the linebacker not being valued in the National Football League. We can't have it both ways. Hey, we'll get the linebackers cheap because the league doesn't believe in paying linebackers. Yeah. Oh, but the league does believe in paying wide receivers. Well, we don't really want to do that. Well, which way do you run your business? Do you follow suit with the rest of the National Football League? You go, no. Everyone else is wrong, and we as the Philadelphia Eagles are right.
It's the precedent that they set. I said it yesterday. They set the precedent with dead money. Other people have set the precedent. You can either play the game or don't play the game. I agree with you. Right now, they're not playing the game. If they want a wide receiver of that level, and people talk about DK Metcalf, look, I think people overrate DK Metcalf and AJ Brown. I think they'd be huge upgrades for this particular team. But let's look at the wide receivers that got paid. They're not as good as Devontae Adams,
No.
Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs. Those guys are good. Those guys are good, well-rounded, dominant receivers. And don't get me wrong, DK and AJ are really good players, but they're going to get over. That's where you start to get you got to be really, really careful. Because even I look at Adams and I say to myself, well, that's the best receiver in football. And if he's not the best, okay, you can argue Cooper Cup last year. But to me, he's the best, most well-rounded receiver in football. I still think he's going to be a little bit of a disappointment for Las Vegas because of the expectations and because he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers, and they're just not going to be as successful. Same thing with Tyreek Hill. Just maybe the scariest offensive weapon in the NFL in Kansas City. It's not going to be that way in Miami. I mean, hopefully Tua can turn it around and turn into a star. He's not Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to be that way. Now, Diggs is a little bit different because he's a great receiver. He's got a great quarterback. You've already seen it. I'm probably most comfortable with Buffalo because it's in place. Everything is there. So I don't have as much of an issue there because Josh Allen, you have both sides of the equation. You have the guy who can get him the football. You have the guy who runs maybe the best routes in the NFL and is proven year after year after year. And then there's those are good players. Those are really good players. DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel. You know the one I would trust the most coming up, Jody? Terry McLaurin. And you know why? Because he's produced with dreck at throwing to him, and he still manages to do a really, really good job. That to me would be the safest if I'm going to give a boatload of money to people. But it's a difficult position to pay that much money for me if I were a GM, because you're reliant on somebody else before you can do your job. You need the vehicle to get them the football.
You can say that, John, and it would be accurate. However, the market has been set, and you can stomp your feet and say that this is wrong and we're not going to be motivated by. Okay, well, then you're not going to get players. If you're talking about free
that
agents,
part I agree with. Yeah, I mean, it is. The market is the market. You either get involved or you don't.
Right, yeah. And I think it's a market you have to get involved in. And it's funny you brought up Terry McLaurin because Jeff Lurie did too. Just another guy that the Eagles didn't take because they had already taken J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Oops. Ouch. That's rubbing salt in the wounds. And the fact that he's doing it in division and twice a year against the Eagles makes it that much more painful. And people are going to get tired of listening to this here on Birds 365. Again, just another reason why the Eagles missed on DeVante Parker, because he checks the boxes. Veteran wide receiver the Eagles need. Check. Under contract for an inexpensive number as compared to these 25, 26, 27 million per $70 million guaranteed deals that are being signed by other wide receivers. Better than DeVante Parker. I'm not trying to say DeVante Parker is the equivalent of the Tyreek Hills and the Stephon Diggs and the Devontae Adams of the world. No, I'm not saying that, but you look at the drop-off from the money to the drop-off of the production. Oh, the drop-off in the money is significantly more, $6 million per, so that's a check for multiple years. He's still got 2 years to go on his contract. It's not just a one-year deal, because the Eagles don't seem to be doing all that much for improving just for 2022. That's another check. And, oh, by the way, he can just upgrade your wide receiver position right now by showing up and putting on a pair of shoulder pads. Check. And the Eagles
I would agree.
I'm sorry, I left out. And it didn't cost diddly. All it cost was a move up of two rounds of a draft pick. You didn't even have to give up a draft pick to get him. You just had to give up positioning in the draft. That's a check. The Eagles massively missed out on DeVante Parker.
I have to look. I think didn't they give up a third round pick, a future third round pick, and move spaces?
I think it was just
I'll have to double check in the break. But there are a couple boxes
for the player and a 5.
If you're probably right. Either way, you missed a couple boxes. One would be age, and one would be injury history. So there's a couple boxes. I agree. It checks all those boxes. Look, Jimmy Kempski is going to be on after the break. he's an upgraded receiver with his length and his size. He's an upgraded at receiver for this freaking team. Everybody's an upgrade. Everybody is an upgrade. So yeah, DeVante Parker's an upgrade, but there are some age concerns. He's 29. There are some injury concerns. He's only had 1,000-yard season. There are some production concerns. I don't have a problem with the Eagles for passing on DeVante Parker. The problem is they can't get anybody.
Huge problem.
They can't get anybody. And they haven't been able to get.
I'm going to harp on DeVante Parker.
Well,
because
Zach,
he checked more boxes than anybody else who's moved this offseason.
Well, he checks more boxes than Zach Pascal. I'll give you that.
Exactly right.
But I don't know if he checks all the right boxes. I'll say that.
Oh,
I don't have a problem with the Eagles passing on DeVante Parker in a vacuum, as I said. Overall,
we got to get you out of the vacuum, Johnny Mac, and into the world of reality.
But I think it's valuable to be disciplined. If you don't like a player, if you don't think a player is a fit, just because you missed out on players that are fits, you shouldn't reach for that particular player.
Okay, then here's my problem with the Eagles. I don't like their evaluation.
Well,
I think the guy can play, and they don't. Shame on them for that when their wide receiver room is what their wide receiver room is. Plain and simple. All right, yes, the aforementioned and good target size Jimmy Kempski is going to join us next here on Birds 365.